Welcome, Latin students. This week we're going to dive in further to Ecclesiastes and dig a little bit further. Let's begin in prayer. Pater noster, qui es in caelis, sanctificator nomen tuum, adveniat regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua, sicut in caelo et in terra, panem nostram quotidianem, da nobis hodie, et dimitte nobis debita nostra, sicut et nos dimittimus debitoribus nostris, et ne nos inducas in tentationem, sed libera nos a malo. Amen. All right, let's dive right into it. Ego Ecclesiastes fuit rex Israel in Jerusalem et proposui in animo meo, quaerere et investigare sapienter de omnibus quae fiunt sub sole. Okay. Now, I noticed on your quizzes when I was grading that last round of quizzes that many of you guys translated Ecclesiastes here as just Ecclesiastes, like the book name. But you have to realize that Ecclesiastes actually means something, and it means preacher is sort of the standard translation, but it's actually coming from Greek. In Greek, it's common to add tes to the end of a word to make it a person who does blank. So, for instance, if we have to run in English, we add runner, okay, is a person who runs. We have boxing, right? So a boxer is a person who does that. In the same way, in Greek, when you add tes, that's a kind of person. So mathein is to learn in Greek, but mathetes is a learner, or somebody that we would call a disciple. That's the standard word for disciple in the New Testament. Okay? Now this word ecclesia has to do with the assembly, a political assembly. You might have heard about the democracy in Athens. So when all the citizens would gather together and cast their votes, that was called the ecclesia. And of course, this is where the early church got its word for church. We translate ecclesia in the New Testament typically as church, but of course in the Greek at the time, it was a common word for a gathering of people, an assembling body of people. And it still has that political overtone. So an ecclesiastes is a person who would stand up in that assembly and address it and declare something. Okay? So in the context of a church, a person who gets up and declares something in front of the entire assembly, we would call a preacher. And there's not really a better alternative word in English. Maybe orator or speech maker would be close, but speech maker doesn't sound very good. Okay? So ego ecclesiastes, I, the preacher, we could translate. Fui rex Israel, was the king of Israel. Now, something we saw above when we saw Jerusalem, okay, David rex Jerusalem, there in the very first sentence, is that when Latin borrows words from other languages, especially other languages that don't decline like Latin declines, those words become what we call indeclinable. So in that first line, reges Jerusalem, the king of Jerusalem, we would expect a genitive case in Latin. And Jerusalem would be genitive. It could also maybe be locative, the king at Jerusalem. But in any case, Jerusalem is just going to be that. You're not going to alter the shape of the word to get that genitive or possibly locative case. And here again, Rex Israel, the king of Israel, we would expect a genitive case, and indeed that's what it is, but you're not going to have Israel-i, okay? Because it's just a Hebrew word that's being stolen from Hebrew. It's going to continue to have exactly that form. In Jerusalem, et proposui in animo meo, quaerere et investigare sapienter de omnibus quae fiunt sub sole. And I proposed in animo meo. Now this is important. We've already talked about this in class before, the distinction between anima and animus, the feminine version of the word and the masculine version of the word. Anima means the soul. And soul, in classical thought, just describes the life force of any living thing, that thing that makes something move, that thing that gives it an inner breath. So it makes sense for animals to have an anima. Soul is not something peculiar to rational human persons in classical thought. Okay? But animus describes your mind or your spirit, your consciousness. It's a little bit different. Okay? So he's proposing in that deep part of his consciousness to start an investigation, and he's going to do it in a particular way. He's going to do that investigation sapienter. And it's important for what follows that this investigation is done sapienter, that is, wisely, prudently. Because this kind of investigation is special to what it means to be a human being. Other animals, of course, are aware of the world. They see things out there. They have senses. They also go in search of things. You know, we do the little experiments with the rats and the mazes, and they go hunt for the cheese in the maze, okay? You could describe that as a search, as an investigation. But only human beings have this quality of sapientia, wisdom or prudence. In fact, when, we have the scientific name for the human species, we say Homo sapiens. Okay, that's our, bad American pronunciation of sapiens. Homo sapiens. The kind of homo, human being, that is wise, rational, capable of that higher level of thinking. And that leads right into the paradox of the next sentence. Hac occupationem pessimam dedit Deus filiis hominum ut occuparentur in ea. Okay? So this is a very poetic sentence, so we want to break it down. Notice that the subject of the sentence is occurring after the verb. Okay, Deus, so God gave. Don't translate from left to right. I've noticed some of you guys still with that temptation. You always got to look at your endings, okay? So God gave. What did he give? Normally, we wouldn't put a direct object all the way at the front of a sentence like this in Latin. It's allowed, it's grammatical, okay? But it's usually done for emphasis. So what did he give? Hanc occupationem pessimam. This, the worst job, the worst task, okay? That's what God gave. And to whom did he give it? To filiis hominum, to the sons of men. All right? This is the special task that God has given to mankind. That is to quaerere et investigare sapienter. De omnibus quae fiunt sub sole. Okay? So this is the special task that God has given to mankind, to go on this hunt after all these things and to do it sapientier. But, paradoxically, this is described here as the worst job in the world. Now, why is that? Well, vidi cuncta quae fiunt sub sole et ecce universa vanitas et adflictio spiritus. He says, I've done my job. I've gone out and I've seen everything. Cuncta. All right? All the things that happen under the sun. And ecce, behold. What is it all? Well, I just described it in the above paragraph. The whole thing, universa, is vanitas et adflictio spiritus. Now, notice, don't let that trick you. Spiritus is not not second declension. Spiritus, so that is a genitive right there. Okay? The whole thing is emptiness, vanitas, hollowness, pointlessness. and afflictio spiritus, the affliction of spirit. It's a grievous task, this thing that I gotta go figure more out, but there's no point to it. There's nothing at the end to it, as long as we are limited sub sole. All right, so that is your passage for this week. I hope I've given you some things to chew on and a few grammatical pointers, places where you might get tripped up. I didn't give you exactly a straight translation. I gave you a straight translation of some of the harder phrases there, but I left a few things untranslated so that you will have to go and do that on your own. Make sure you are staying on top of that vocabulary. Do your flashcards every day. I'm proud of you. Keep up the hard work.